Hi, I'm Tealish, and you're watching Coffee and Clix. Today we're joined by US Nationals champion Alex Mader and second place finalist Lucas Tom Van Holland. Hello everybody.
What's up?
Nice to meet with you
hello,
today.
hello.
Thank you for joining me on the show. So today we're going to be talking about Nationals, US Nationals. We're going to also talk about a lot about, both Lucas and Alex's experience at Nationals. We're going to talk about Worlds, which is coming up soon. So we have a lot to talk about today. Rotation and the meta, meta post rotation and things like that. So I mean, let me just start with Alex. Alex, what was the team that you played at in Nationals, in US Nationals?
I played Spider-Man Prime with a Necro Sword. I had Carnage Surfer on there, Black Skull with a Black Symbiote, Venom Magneto with a Cloak of Levitation, Mephisto with the Sinestro Ring, and the Commissioner. So very aggressive.
Okay, yeah, that seems like a very aggressive team. Curious though, I looked at your team. I was curious how you did this. So you had the Black Skull equipped with the Black Symbiote. Is that what you said? So when you swap him out, what do you do with the equipment?
The plan was to potentially equip it to somebody else, but that never actually happened. Everything happened so quickly that literally 100% of the time, the Black Symbiote just got left in my starting area. Okay. I shouldn't have had it on the team at all. So,
okay, all right. But still very aggressive team. Obviously, you won the event, so that was awesome. And Lucas, could you tell me a little bit about your team as well?
Oh, I suppose I was just playing, just playing 6 or 7 figures that nobody else in the field was playing. I ran mission points for Nats, so it was BTU Darkside with the Darkhold, Indigo 1 with her ring, Watcher with the Shot Gauntlets, the 40-point Watcher from the Disney Plus starter, Frogman with the Sinestro Core ring, and then Legacy Riddler, and then Prime Batman from BTU. So the whole idea was I had 3 different ways to generate mission points. I had Indigo 1, I had Watcher. Indigo 1 and Watcher. I had Darkseid with his knockback ability, and then I had Riddler with his perplexes. So it was one of those situations where I think I was facing a lot of matchups where they weren't 100% prepared on how to handle what I was throwing at them. I didn't qualify the first time I attempted it because I had a 0-point loss my first game because I played bad, and I think I lost map if I recall correctly. And 0-point loss, which there was an odd number of players, so it gave me a bye the second round, so I didn't end up qualifying for the first qualifier. But the second one, I was able to make it in, and then just kept winning map for the matches that counted. I had one matchup in top 16 that I was like, I need to play against this team because I can't physically lose. And that was Robert Gallagher's team with Oops All Apox. He just couldn't beat me. It's not unless I'm just playing completely negligent. And then I just had some good matchups all the way to the finals where I ended up losing initiative, and that was that. So
it was 2 rolls is all it took. It was that and the one on your Riddler.
So, so was it? So you're saying it was very important with your mission point team to win map choice?
Yeah. So with my team, the idea is you want to prolong engagement as long as possible. Right, so the whole idea is the longer I can keep my opponent from being on top of me or hitting me in any way, shape, or form, the better things are going to go. So effectively, by winning map A, we get to go to a 2x3, which just statistically takes longer to cross. And then also I go to Morlock Tunnels, which has a lot of blocking. Play the L-shaped blocking terrain, which takes 4 damage to destroy. I'm able to hole up, put down barriers, that sort of thing. So what would happen a lot of times is if my opponent didn't know what I was doing, then I would get 1 or 2 full turns of using support before they were even engaged. If they did know what I was doing, then it really depended on how fast they engaged or where specifically they placed themselves, because what a lot of people weren't ready for was me triple perplexing up Watcher's range to an 11 and using Force Blast and also Outwit. So like if you're relying on a character like Sackman to use Super Strength to get through my blocking, and I outwit your Super Strength and then knock you back, you're probably not getting to me as quickly. So
Watcher has Force Blast, or you have him equipped with something that gives him Force Blast?
Yeah, I put the shot gauntlets on him.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was and then as soon as I'm engaged upon, it's pretty much you have to kill Riddler first. If you don't, and Riddler doesn't roll a 1, with the number of perplexes I have, it's pretty much over after 2 turns of being engaged.
Okay.
But then there's also, Frogman has the ability to generate me, 3 to 5 mission points in a turn, depending on how things go. Darkseid can generate me 1 to 2 mission points in a turn. Indigo 1 can potentially do, if the stars align, can get a lot of mission points in a turn with the support rolls. So it becomes a thing of target selection. And then with my tarot deck, I very specifically engineered the tarot deck to make it as difficult as possible to get to me. So I played Queen of Cups, which is characters take maximum 2 damage from attacks. And then I also played Queen of Pentacles, which is characters can only move in direct paths. So if you're on Morlock Tunnels and you're not directly aligned with me, you're not going to engage me for that turn. It's basically a free turn. And if I roll Queen of Cups, everything on my team except for Batman has at least 5 clicks of life, so it's going to take minimum 3 attacks to kill him. So it was a lot of very, very difficult to face. Basically, I just prolonged the game as long as I could, and then on average it was 4 turns for me to win. There were a few games that I won in 3 turns.
Okay, and so like for Riddler, how does his mission point mechanic work?
Yeah, so when he perplexes somebody, he gives them a puzzle token. And then from that point on, anytime a character perplexes that character, doesn't matter if it's friendly or opposing, I roll a d6. On a 1, I remove the puzzle token, which happened to me more often than I would have liked, but it is what it is. On a 2 through 4, the perplex resolves as normal, but I get a mission point. And on a 5 or 6, the perplex has no effect, and I get a mission point. That is for every puzzle token. So let's say that's why I said if Riddler lasts at least 2 turns and you have 2 puzzle tokens on a character, every perplex roll, I get potentially upwards of 2 mission points. Well, if I'm playing 5 perplexes and you have 2 puzzle tokens, that's 10 mission points just by perplex. Right? Yeah. That's not counting the judgment card. That's not counting support as free. That's not counting the knockbacks, some of which are free, or at least don't require an attack roll. So, versus Nate White by turn 3, I think I was at 18.
So when they engage you, you have to perplex them, or is it before they engage you? How do you start perplexing them?
So Riddler doesn't require line of fire for his perplex.
Oh, okay.
So depending on where they're at, I can get an early token on him, or an early puzzle token on a character by triple perplexing his range to an 8, which gives me the reach all the way out to row 10, which on Morlock Tunnels is well beyond where the blocking is. So if they engage right in front of the blocking in order to try and attack me next turn, I can get a puzzle token on right away. Same thing with Watcher. Watcher does not require line of fire. His line of fire is never blocked. Actually, that's how his works. So
deeply
it's the same thing. I can perplex beyond the blocking. So, even if you move up, I could get 3, without support. If you moved up behind the blocking, I could still get 3 mission points. I could give you, or 2 mission points.
Yeah, one with Watcher,
I can give you a puzzle token. I can perplex you with Watcher, and then I can knock you back with Watcher. That's not including the potential 2 to 4 mission points I could get from Indigo 1 in that turn from using support. And that 2 to 4 is not including support as free or the judgment card. Because if you look at the judgment card as support as free, then you're looking at an additional 2 to 3 mission points on top of that.
Once I had done the math on your team, and it was like you had a 3% chance or some stupid thing of getting 17 mission points in a turn if all things went according to plan.
Yeah, if the stars aligned and the planets were rotating at the right frequency, yeah, there is a world where If I flip Judgment, my opponent has Queen of Wands down, I roll a 6 on support, and they're fully engaged on me, I could get 6 or 17 mission points in a single turn. Because that's the other thing with the knockback with Darkseid. I have three characters with rings, so I can make boots who can knock back people back for free. Like I said, between Riddler, Frogman, Darkseid, Watcher, I have 4 perplexes. If Batman takes 1 damage, I have an extra perplex on Batman. So there's a lot of... What's that?
I said go Batman.
Yeah, there's a lot of sneaky ways for me to like get mission points, because like turn 1, turn 2, I might have 3 or 4, maybe 5, but then all of a sudden after turn 2, beginning of turn 3, I'm at 12 or 15, and you're like, oh, I actually only have 1 turn left, and then I lose. And you can't just kill one character and deny my mission points, right? You just kill Indigo, I can still get plenty of mission points for my other characters. You just kill Darkseid, I can still get mission points. So it's one of those things where you have to kill Darkseid, Indigo, and Riddler in order to really just stop me. And that's a much easier said than done.
Agreed. Yeah, I'd say for your team specifically, you had to kill at least 2 of them to have a chance. Because if you left 2 of them alive, like you said, you could just make up so much ground so quickly. But if you killed 2 of them, and like I said, if you don't roll right or something goes a little bit off, it's not as bad, but still just when you only have 4 turns to win, you're fighting an awful clock. So
yeah, and it's one of those things too where once I get past 10, Peacemaker comes out.
And that's so guaranteed 1 a turn.
There was a few games where it's like I'm at 18 or 19, and I just said to my opponent, I was like, you physically can't win. Like, what do you mean? I said, you attack me, Peacemaker probs it, game over. You have no outwit on him. That's it. So it's just one of the, or like I had another one, I think it was versus Alyssa McNeil, where I just basically said, hey, can you wipe me? She goes, I'm going to try. I said, no, I mean, I'll help you. Let's see if I can help you figure it out. But let's be honest about it. Can you wipe me? Because if the answer is no, I'll win next turn guaranteed. And that was the case of what happened. So,
No, it's really cool to see mission points actually do so well. I mean, this is like second place at Nationals. That's a really super exciting for mission point teams.
Your opinion is much more polarized than a lot of, or it's on the other side of the coin from a lot of people, because there's been a lot of negative feedback about that as well from what I saw after Nationals. The community is very divided on whether or not they think mission points is a good or a bad thing for the game.
Yeah, if you're watching in the comments, just post what your opinion is about mission points. That'll that might be a fun one. That might blow up the comments. But I mean, Alex, let's talk about your team a little bit, because how did you talk more about your team? How does it work, and how did you play it throughout the tournament?
My favorite thing that I did that put a confused look on a majority of people's faces was I would always spawn a spotlight on my first turn, and then I would spawn Rookie from Commissioner, and I would have Rookie carry the spotlight out, which would automatically kill it. And everybody just looked at me like, why would you do that? And it was for Iron Inquisitor, because then he can pull the powers from the dead stop or the dead spotlight. So he could have sidestep, he could have, energy shield deflection, which is really handy throughout the game, because then he can sidestep, you can swap to somebody else, and then they can do whatever they need to do. It also just helped for repositioning. But that was probably the opening play with that team consistently, was spotlight, spawn Rookie, triple up Rookie's defense, and just kind of send him to the middle of the map, because that forced people to either engage with Rookie, or he was going to punish him on the next turn and then follow up with Spider-Man and whatever else I had going on. I would always give Spider-Man a token just to kind of sit in a field on the first turn, and that way on the second turn he could sprint all the way up and then charge Flurry, or I had 3 different telekinesis, so I could just send him up and actually get 2 flurries off with him too. The amount of damage I was able to put out in a turn was pretty disgusting, as long as I could get out of the range of or get away from King Killmonger and stuff like that. Because anybody who had King Killmonger up, I had to find a way to separate him from the rest of the squad in order for Spider-Man to be truly effective, because he had the Necro Sword on him. So The one response I had to that was the fact that I kept my Carnage Silver Surfer unequipped. So in those situations, instead of sending out Spider-Man right away, I would fire out Carnage Surfer, who would take 2 shots, kill the King Killmonger, and then Spider-Man would just go have his fun.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the beginning of the end of the majority of those games. There were a couple of games where I had slightly misplaced him, and I thought that I could be in trouble for it. But if you don't kill Spider-Man in one turn, he comes back with a vengeance with the steel energy and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that was pretty much the high and low of it. There wasn't a lot of deep strategy in my team aside from go fast and hit things. So,
and so, I mean, for both of you, I mean, this question's, I guess, for both of you. Like, what was your experience like at Nationals, just overall?
Awesome. I loved it. It was the first Nationals tournament I'd ever been to, so it was exciting. It was nerve-wracking. I mean, I was very nervous for the first handful of games, but then, like Lucas said, once I was in the final, you know, you just keep winning games. You're like, holy crap, this is actually happening. Here I am, and worked out a couple of good matchups, a couple of good dice rolls, so had a great time.
Yeah, it's no secret that I'm a little frustrated with WizKids and how they've been handling themselves for events. I think that they can, you know, from what I've heard, they were only allotted certain space and certain amount of time from Gen Con, but I have a very hard time believing that that was not self-inflicted, right? Knowing WizKids, they likely got things in late. They didn't have a good idea of what they actually wanted, so they were probably just given some random corner and some small amount of time. I have a hard time believing, because they were adamant that they couldn't run events past 5 o'clock or whatever. I call BS on that, because that hall's open the entire weekend, and nobody else uses those tables except for the organization that's allocated to them, unless there's another arrangement. Every time I walked past there after 5, they were just empty, right? There's people hanging out, maybe playing their own game because they saw some empty tables, but there wasn't anything else going on. I think WizKids needs to do a better job of handling Nationals in the future. They very, very easily could have ran it like they do for Worlds, with rounds of Swiss to a single elimination top cut. That's not including these random qualifying events. And then as far as the qualifying events, there's a bit of a shame on WizKids for that, because they did 16 players, but only 3 rounds cut to top 4. The issue with that is that there's several 2-in-1s that don't make it in. And there should never be a tournament where you lose one game and fail to qualify. That's just a slap in the face to your players. It's disrespectful, and it should never happen. So I hope that WizKids understands that for the future. I did, you know, I personally gave feedback, I'm sure a few other people did as well, to several members of the WizKids team, and basically said, guys, this is unacceptable. You can't be doing that. As far as the games that I had, they were all fine. They were all great. Didn't run into any bad actors, any issues. No, never felt like I was slow played. Never felt like I was not given the opportunity to play the game. Everybody was cordial. I didn't witness anything like a gotcha or a no take backsies kind of thing. I think people played well. I think the community has been evolving well and adopting that sort of play style that we've tried to kind of inaugurate into the heads of our HeroClix fans, where it's like, hey, we're playing this game to have fun. We're a bunch of adults playing with little plastic toys, and there's no reason to be a jerk about it. And I think a lot of players have really taken that in stride, so it's always good to see, especially when it happens at a larger event. Great people, great players. And then, you know, it's at Gen Con. Gen Con as a whole, as a con, is the best any experience you can really get at a convention.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know, Alex, that was your first time at Gen Con, so the first one's always the most spectacular.
I'll be chasing that high for the rest of my life now. I tell you what.
Exactly.
I myself, I've never been to Nationals. I've been to Worlds twice now, but I've never actually been to Nationals. So I've never been out to Gen Con or anything like that.
Yeah, the thing to remember is that Gen Con is not just about HeroClix, right? When you go to Worlds at Memphis, that's just HeroClix. That's all you're doing for 4 days or whatever. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. When you go to Gen Con, HeroClix is a very small part of what you're actually doing, right? The convention itself is massive. It makes Origins look like a toddler convention. Your exhibit hall, for those who have been to Origins, if you remember the exhibit hall there, the exhibit hall at Gen Con's about 4 or 5 times the size of that, and I'm not exaggerating. It's enormous. It
Massive.
spills out into other halls, other rooms. They don't actually have enough space for everybody to be in the exhibit hall, so there's a lot of other like conference rooms and stuff where the larger companies are using, and they sell their own stuff there. The TCG hall, or the gaming hall, which is where WizKids was, is just endless rows of tables, with people demoing games, running tournaments. The Magic area is enormous with constant full tables of events that they're running. Like it's huge. And then there's all the other stuff that you can do. This year they reopened Lucas Oil Stadium to have a bunch of stuff there. Alex, I don't know if you had the chance to go walk on Lucas Oil, but you can actually go through the tunnels from the convention center out onto the field. It's really cool. That's where we played HeroClix
Crazy.
when I was at Gen Con the first time, Gen Con 50. That's where WizKids was out on the field, and it was really fun just playing HeroClix in like the middle where the Colts play. It's
That's
just like,
super
that's
dope.
really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you ever have an opportunity to go to Gen Con, even if the HeroClix isn't the greatest, I recommend it just as an experience because Gen Con's a lot of fun.
My ADHD was on fire that whole weekend because I was there to play HeroClix, but then I realized what I was getting myself into, and I could not focus. Like, there was a full day of HeroClix, and I was like, I love playing HeroClix, but I want to see the 50 million other things that are here.
Mhm.
So it was fantastic. I would love it if they would. Like, I love that it's there because it gives you another excuse to go there, but it'd be nice if it was separate so that you could do nationals, and then when you go to Gen Con, you could just focus on Gen Con. But
Well, that's what they used to have. They used to have nationals at Origins, but they had a bunch of issues, I think, there as well. And
yeah,
just can't please everybody. And I think having
exactly.
your tournaments at a convention makes sense. WizKids
It
kind of
does.
struck gold with Graceland. They have
Oh
a
yeah,
good situation there, but I don't think that they can get away with running both nationals and worlds at Gen Con or at Graceland. I think that they would probably run into a little bit of an issue there. And let's be honest, I don't think people want to go to Memphis multiple times in a year. So,
also true.
So I mean, Alex, how were your games like your games that you played at nationals? How many rounds was it? You probably 8 rounds, right? Like, so 4 rounds of Swiss and then 4 elimination, or
That would have been really nice if that had been the case, but it was what was it? It was the 2 rounds of Swiss to top cut 8. So that was really interesting. So you pretty much had to win both your games or at least score a solid amount of points if you were going to do a win-loss. And so in that, I didn't have any issue in the Swiss portion. I won both my games, so I was in. And then when it got to top cut, that's when it really got interesting. My first game was against Jalen. That one, he had mispositioned at the beginning, and I was able to knock out King Killmonger. Like I said, just Carner Surfer up, clip him, and then Spider can just kind of go to town. Top 4, I was up against Isaac, and he was playing Spider-Man. It was a very similar team, but he had what else did he have on it? He had Saint Walker on there, and that was kind of what threw me off because I had mispositioned my squad at the beginning because I moved up and I had Spider-Man originally in the middle of my formation, but then I shifted it and I had King Killmonger in the middle of my formation and Spider-Man was off to the side. And he was able to bring up Saint Walker, knock Spider-Man out of formation, so he was able to get some clean shots on him, but he wasn't able to kill him, like I said. And so without killing Spider-Man, I was able to come back and just wipe out the things I needed to kill in order to take that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then my last game against Lucas is on the record. So
there we go. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So and so, like you had mentioned, Worlds, and I think as of this recording, Worlds is like a week from now, or is it?
week and a half.
Week and a half.
Yeah.
Week and a half. Yeah, week and a half.
So
It's crazy.
So yeah, it's crazy. So what are you expecting from Worlds? How is it going to be different from Nationals? Are you expecting to see anything at Worlds?
I think people have probably learned a lot from nationals and all the states games that have been played recently too, obviously. And you can see a lot of what people are looking at playing. I think people are going to be ready for Spider-Man and the like. Realistically, I know that, I had thought about that after the fact. I'm like, people are going to be gunning for him. So do you play the same thing or do you switch it up? I'm probably still leaning towards playing Spider-Man realistically,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I think you're probably going to see a lot of the same thing, but just maybe slight adjustments realistically from nationals to worlds. I don't know if Lucas thinks differently or not, but
Well, yeah, we haven't gotten any new figures, right? We've only gotten a few Connellys, none of which are really that great, except for probably Space Ghost.
I was just going to say, I don't think Space Ghost is going to alter the meta too terrible much, even if
No,
he's
I think
good.
Porter would have. If Scott
Agreed.
Porter was legal for Worlds, I think that would have altered the meta enough to make a difference. But I don't,
I'd agree with
because
that.
they're not going to let him be played. I think that everything we've had has been set in stone since Nats or even States. And yeah, you got to have a plan for Spider-Man, both with and without the Necro Sword. Objectively, I think the Necro Sword is better, but you see both. You have to have a plan for Scarlet Witch. You have to have a plan for Scarab. You have to have a plan for, a few different other meta staples that I think there isn't going to be a team that's going to properly cover everything. And so what's going to happen is it's going to come down to what you're playing, how well you're familiar with it, and what sort of things you can come up with, mad scientists drum up during the match, right? Because even if you have a match where you look at it and go, there is no way I can lose this game, you still have to be careful from your opponent doing something that you don't expect, right? And so, Ryan Redmond had that at the Cheesehead Cup with
Oh yeah,
with Spider-Man and Madam Web.
Madam Web.
Madam Web giving him the improved movement characters and blocking, which means with his leap climb, he just moves through everything. Nothing stops him. He just goes. And that was something that I think caught some people off guard. It caught me off guard. And I think that if you can have plays like that at Worlds, it'll at the very minimum get you through Swiss. Once you hit Top Cut, once people start seeing your team, your tricks, your secrets are going to go out the wayside. And then it's going to become a lot more important for how solid of a player you are, as well as how good your team was when you constructed it, right? If your team is reliant entirely on the little tricks to pull off in order to win, that's probably not going to last you very long beyond Swiss. It's just how it goes. It's going to require solid core, solid gameplay. Worlds is going to obviously be a different song and dance because we're going to have multiple rounds of Swiss with a single elimination top cut, like every other tournament is supposed to be. Keep in mind that WizKids typically runs long because they use a slow software that requires a lot of manual entry to get everything moving, which means rounds are typically towards the shorter end so that they can keep things going. So if your team doesn't handle short games well, requires a late game comeback, be wary of that. Or understand that you might have to play faster or more concise in order to make things work. I know there's a few good players that have said they're not going to Worlds, but for the most part, everybody who's anybody as far as HeroClix is going to be there, right? People who are good at this game, they don't mess around, they have a lot of skill, a lot of knowledge. They're all going to be there playing the game the best that they can play it in order to have a chance at winning the World Tournament. So if you're playing to win, then act like it. Start practicing now. Start practicing a month ago, and learn your team as best as you can learn it. You're in for a tough ride, I think. So,
are you? Yeah. No, I'm excited. Worlds is going to be pretty cool. I mean, as far as like I know that they added some new formats recently, and they added some championships there's I think there's 4 different world championships at Worlds now. There's a pulp championship, there is the regular singles modern championship, 300 modern, there's Silver Age theme format.
There's no silver.
There's no silver?
Theme is modern at Worlds, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Okay. All right. I'll have to double check that.
Theme was silver at Gen Con, but I'm pretty sure it's modern at Worlds.
Okay.
I don't think there's any silver events whatsoever.
Oh, all right.
Which I'm okay with.
Okay. Yeah, I have to double check that.
Teams.
And then you have team sealed. So I mean, but as far as those 4 formats are, like, how would you rank them? Like, modern,
I think team sealed,
team, pulp.
I think team sealed is what most people show up to Worlds for.
Yeah.
I think it's just objectively the most fun. I think that, with the changes that they've made to providing an entire sealed brick to teams versus just 6 boosters, it objectively is more fair and balanced. Yes, there are some power figures that are still going to shine through. Yes, there's some people who are going to pull the nuts, right?
But they can only go on one team.
They can only go on one team. You're not going to have repeats of Nationals 2018 where they pulled 2 King Red Skulls and win the event because of that. That's not going to happen anymore. So it's really well balanced, and it does come down to how well you play. The dice are always a factor, especially in sealed, especially this year. Team probs are gone. So if you don't have prob, you don't have prob.
Yeah.
And that's brutal, because when you play in the finals match and miss 5 attacks in a row versus Tony Bruno to try and make sure that he can't win a game, now I'm only going to have 2 attacks in a row and probably still going to miss the 7s. So it's one of those things where that's something to keep in mind. I think play safe in sealed is a big thing, but yeah, team sealed is just the most fun. It always gathers the most players. It's just people enjoy doing it. That's where you get a lot of your team shirts and everything, that people drum up and come out with, and they just want to have fun and go crazy with it. I think the prizing at Worlds is leaving a lot to be desired for most people. But hopefully WizKids can turn that around in future years, since they don't really seem to want to do it this year.
I looked it up. Hold on. No, actually, no, I'm looking it up right now. Because, Theme World Championship is a Silver Age theme team. It's 300 points silver. Limit 64 players. I'm just on the WizKids.com/worlds. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so there is a silver event. There are also some smaller side events. I will link the WizKids Worlds website. I'll link it. It is linked in my Facebook group, but I'll link it to this video just so like anybody watching, if they're interested in like the different events that are going to be offered at Worlds. There's a whole event schedule. If you look under where it says side events, which I don't know, I guess they have that listed under side events, but there's battle royales, there's a 8-person pulp event, there's an 8-person theme event, there's an Exosword storyline organized play, then there's the sealed team world championships, then there's the pulp world championship, there's a theme world championship, that one is Silver Age, according to the website, and then there's also like stuff for Onslaught that they have.
Yeah, I think that is new. I don't think it was silver beforehand, but
Okay.
I could be wrong. It's entirely possible that's been that way the whole time and I just missed it. Either way, cool. Unfortunately for me, theme team is Highlander.
Yep.
I don't like
No
the fact that it's
Highlander.
Hey, I can dream. I will. If there was a chance that I got to play Sentinels at Worlds again, I would have taken them. They'd be in the box. But yeah,
No,
I can't.
bad Lucas.
I can't justify playing only one. I got to play multiples.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Lucas doesn't make the rules. He just happily follows them. So
I don't make the rules. I just think them up and write them down.
What do you guys think?
Exactly. There you go.
What do you guys think about pulp? Like, do you think, do you like that format? Do you enjoy pulp?
Love it. Oh yeah,
I mean,
it's great.
it's a different way to play the game. That's just like anything else. There are everything in moderation. I feel right. Too much of anything is not great. Too much 300 modern isn't great. Too much sealed isn't great. You could say the thing for theme team and pulp formats. Pulp makes you think about the game differently because the figures are just inherently weaker. They do less things. The game is a little bit more straightforward, punchy, shooty. However, there is still a lot of nuance to pulp that people need to remember. You have characters that have spooky pulse waves. You have characters that have really good mobility. Honestly, characters that are probably worth playing in 300 modern It's just people see shiny and they just can't help themselves from playing something different. Like if my opponent was sitting across from me at World Singles playing Red Widow, I'd go, I need to watch out for that because she can just one-shot some stuff. You know, same thing with Blue Marvel. Blue Marvel is terrifying in Modern. He's terrifying in Pulp. You cannot let him just sit there and start pulse waving you. Otherwise, you're just going to get in trouble. So I think that Pulp has a really good combat triangle nuance with that, with the pulse wavers versus the can't users versus the close combat attackers and the defensive teams. It'll be fun. It'll be really cool to see what people come up with. I think you're going to see a lot of Sinister Moira. A lot of Sinister Moira. Yep. I think that's like objectively the best thing there is to play in Pulp, because forcing your opponent to miss attacks when there isn't a lot of ways to circumvent that is just really good.
Yeah.
There's also not a lot of ways to make a lot of attacks in Pulp, whereas you can make, 4, 5, 6 attacks in Modern pretty easily on a single turn. You might only get 2 or 3 attacks in Pulp before you've exhausted your attackers. If you can force a miss on one of those and they miss one of the other ones, that's all she wrote.
I mean, I was playtesting a match where I was running Sinister Moira, and my opponent had the opportunity to hit me once. He just couldn't reach me otherwise with anything else. So he took it. He took the one attack. I forced a miss, and he's like, "Oh, so I guess that's the end of my turn." Like if he hits the attack, yeah, it's great. But like he had to hit 20s because I was playing Watcher, and it's like you're not playing Pulse Wave. You have to hit 20s, and I get to force a 1. You're a 13 attack, sure. You need to crit hit in order to hit this attack. So it's like fine. And then as soon as the miss happened, I hit him 4 times in the next turn with a charge, a running shot, another running shot, and another charge. And it's like I just killed 3 of your figures, one of which was your main attacker, and this game is over. Sinister Moira makes that much of a difference. So.
Yeah. It's also nice to see characters that otherwise wouldn't see a lot of play getting to shine more in Pulp. Like I love Falcon, the new one out of AV60 that can extract people, but he's just too many points to play in Modern. Like I've tried it and it's just rough. But in Pulp, he's fantastic because he can defend himself and he gives you more mobility than any other character right now. So
yeah. You don't think he might fit in a Modern team, like an Avengers team with Scarlet Witch or something like that? Or
I tried that, and I think it's got some legs. I just think he's too many points for what he does in Modern. I think 50 points is just a bit too much when you can reach for Carnage Surfer or Sackman for the same amount of points.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Like objectively, especially in Modern, you really have to look at point economy. How many things does this character do for the points that I'm paying for him? And Falcon does one thing. Right? He does one thing really, really well. He does it well. But it's not 50 points well. But you have to look at this. If you want to look at his max reach, where he can get a character, it's 8 squares, right? Because he has to move through them.
Yeah.
Which means the character either has to be in front of him when he starts, or he's got to go sideways 1 or back 1 or whatever before he can go. So if you just want to move a character 8 squares up for a costed action, you can already do that with Venom, Mags, or Polaris. You don't need Falcon to pull that off. And so it's like, okay, why would I spend the extra 15 or 10 points when I could just play Venom, Mags, or Polaris? Well, what else does Venom Mags do? He's a taxi. He's a leadership, right? He has 8 range, which matters a lot, especially when you equip him. So it's like Falcon just can't compete in Modern.
I think post rotation Falcon is going to see some play, maybe not a lot, but you're going to lose a lot of mobility pieces post rotation, and I think Falcon will see some up. You will still have Polaris, but she's not as good as Venom Mag, so it might make it. I think Polaris,
that if gets KO'd pretty, like Falcon gets assassinated pretty quickly, and so does Polaris. Like she's 40 points, but she's really good though. Like she does what she does very well.
She does more, yeah. The thing I like about Falcon is Falcon can bring other people with him. So one of my things that I was playing with Falcon was having Falcon carry, or not carry, but extract Switch or extract, Spider-Man or whatever have you, and then have Miss Marvel pop next to him as well. Because Miss Marvel, if she's tiny, can, move after the fact and could just be placed next to Falcon. So then you've got, your full squad up there, and then Miss Marvel, your person who got, extracted with Falcon, can both make attacks. So it just makes for a really fast attack if you can pull it off. But it is kind of a one-trick pony because once you're there, you're kind of stuck. So
that was gonna be my next question too. Like, what do you guys think about post-rotation meta? Like, what do you think is gonna be up on the rising in stock post-rotation?
super senses.
Super senses.
All day super sense because once the Necro Sword is gone, it's going to be a
ludicrously
lot
easy to get a 4 through 6 or a 3 through 6 senses on almost your entire team.
Yep.
It just makes it very difficult. You pair that with a King Killmonger, so they're equipped. You get 2 50-50 shots at missing the attack. You play any wild cards with, or just any, like, you can play Spider-Man, right? The 25-point Spider-Man.
Huge.
Give your entire team Spider-Man ally. You can give your entire team Wonder Woman TA if you play a Wonder Woman, right? Like let's just spitball a few things. You're playing Prime Spider-Man with the 25-point Spider-Man, which just gives him wild card because he's an Avenger. It doesn't matter where he's at. With Death Metal Wonder Woman on the team, give him the Wonder Woman TA. He's a 3 through 6 super senses with Impervious.
And it's unoutwittable.
It's unoutwittable, and you have Wonder Woman, so once he dies, he comes back to life.
Will she be legal? She'll still be legal post.
She is legal for 1 more year. Yeah,
at least.
Okay.
So
she just came out last year.
Interesting.
Yeah, she just released last year. So
it doesn't feel like that because she's been flagging most teams, but yeah, only 1 year we've had to deal with her.
Yep. So you're gonna at least have another year of her, and yeah. So okay, that's 155. That's 205 points. Sure, that's a big point investment. But let's look at the fact that Spider-Man's not dying. Right? There isn't a good way to deal with him. So you can kill 25-point Spider-Man, assuming you get to him, but then you're just going to get piled on by everything else. And then Wonder Woman, again, probably not dying. Not super quickly, at least, because you have to kill her twice. You don't have the Necro Sword anymore to get through the super senses. You have to do an outwit there. If she's adjacent to Spider-Man, she's wild card, which means she copies Spider-Man ally, which means she's also 3 through 6 super senses. When she gets hit to stop, she's a 19 defend, and there's ways to give her toughness, or there's ways to give her invuln. So there's not an easy way to just deal with that. WizKids needs to start releasing characters that can deal with super senses. Because Precision Strike
can only get you so far.
Yeah. The -1 doesn't do anything when they're already at 3 through 6 on the senses, and the 9 of Swords only comes up once every 5 turns. Mm-hmm. So you don't have a way to deal with it. Spider-Man's going to be running rampant. You lose one of the major counters to him, which of course was the exploit with the Necro Sword. You also lose the Scarlet Witch with the Rune Marker. So the only other power erasers you have left now are Cosmo and Leech. Well, Leech isn't going to see play because his speed's too slow and you can't carry him anyway. Because nobody that actually has a high speed value that wants to carry him is okay with losing their powers. Right? Lockjaw was okay with it, but Lockjaw's going away. So Leech is really out of the question. So you have Cosmo. You can pay 45 points for Cosmo, and he's great. Right? There's nothing wrong with Cosmo. But that's like the only answer right now, other than Precision Strike and the 9 of Swords.
And Cosmo's very easy to put down. Is the problem too.
And there's good old fashioned, we're just going to make the attack, right, and just see what happens. Mm-hmm. But statistically speaking, you're going to fail 66 out of 100 attacks.
Yeah, not a good number. Outside of Arachnite, I don't think there's that many good figures with Precision Strike post rotation, because Precision Strike.
Not that I can think of. There's the new Batman out of Iconics that's got, the ability to crank through stuff like his attack can't be evaded and he deals penetrating damage or something like that. So like he himself, but you're not going to put him on every team.
No, he's fine, but he's not great.
Exactly. And again, fairly easy to put down if you focus fire. And once you kill him, then your characters that all have 3 through 6 super sense are just going to reign the rest of the game. So
the biggest way to fight Spider-Man is probably going to be just playing X-Men and just being like, okay, I'm going to play APOC with swords. Spider-Man just not going to be able to hit me, or if he does, he's going to take Mystics.
I think you're probably right. That's going to be the main answer to Spider-Man or close combat in general. It's just going to be APOC Genesis
He's
for
not
another
going to be
year.
able to heal because he's going to lose his black symbiote as soon as he hits something and goes to, they go to stomp. It's not great, and there's plenty of ways to play around that, but if Spider-Man's what you're worried about, which right now I think Spider-Man for the current modern is what people are worried about, and for good reason, and it's going to be what they're going to need to worry about again for the next year. It's not awesome.
Even after the Necro Sword, Spider-Man's still going to be gross.
What about Carnage Surfer?
So
post-rotation.
Carnage Surfer.
I mean, I think people are going to be playing him, obviously.
I think he'll go up for sure because he's not going to be threatened as deeply by the Necro Sword. So
his stock is good. It certainly does. He certainly does a lot. I think the biggest way to deal with Carnage Surfer is characters that don't die that have Mystic. Right. You might see a little bit of a transition over to characters that just don't die in one hit, have the Mystic CA, where they're not going to be able to kill something and heal. So as soon as they take Mystics and start taking damage, they're much more manageable, right? Because of the way that rotation's happening and we're losing a lot of really good equipment, I actually don't hate things like Soul Sword on World's Finest. It's just a interesting, you put the Soul Sword on them, they take Mystics when they get hit, you use Mad Jim, swap them over to the Black Symbiote. They already have Stealth, but it gives them Steel Energy for a turn, or you can even do Red Symbiote. I think you heal based on KOing characters with that, and World's Finest usually hits for dead. So it's one of those things where there's ways around that to deal with it, but again, they're not great. They exist, and we're gonna have to see what works and what doesn't work, right? But the next major event after Worlds is the Champion Clix Open in Florida, so people are gonna have a few months to kind of test the waters out a bit. People are going to be able to work with Notorious a little bit, depending on when Wheels of Vengeance releases. They're going to be able to work with Wheels of Vengeance. So who knows? We haven't seen much from Wheels of Vengeance yet. There's maybe some stuff in there that's going to help us out, deal with it, right? Remember that Spider-Man only has Impervious, so penetrating damage of all sorts works against him. There's something to be said for that. I like any character with Exploit and Precision Strike, which there's probably going to be a few, or Pen Sign, Precision Strike. There'll probably be a few eventually. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But to answer your initial question, Super Sense is going to be everywhere for right now. That's all you're going to see. Probably Super Senses and Pulse Wave. The Super Senses and Pulse Wave. That's it.
And you touched on earlier about, we were talking about Scott Porter possibly having an impact on the meta, but he's not available yet. He will be soon. He's not going to be legal for Worlds, but after Worlds he will be. I mean, how impactful do you think Scott Porter is going to be? I mean, if you had to kind of do a versus of theme teams versus non-theme, especially post-rotation, what do you think?
Well, if you look at it objectively for what Porter does, I'm going to start with the black shirt one, the Huntington's one. Because remember, there's two of them. And the Huntington's one just gives, you choose a keyword during force reveal when you establish theme team. So you're probably choosing a keyword that matches, if you're playing a theme team, that matches your theme team. If you're not playing a theme team, then you just choose a keyword that matches another character that is beneficial.
Or you choose a lantern keyword.
So the lantern keyword, yes, you still have to pay for the ring, but you do get to generate the constructs for free. Which is obviously very good. The white shirt one just gets to have a lantern ring for free. Because he has he gets all keywords all the time. Yeah. Pick any lantern ring. He loves it. Yep. So it's one of those situations where Porter, he's gonna benefit theme teams and non-theme teams alike. They're gonna be highly efficient at what they're doing. The black shirt one starts with Perplex, the white shirt one starts with Prob. So just for 25 points, white shirt gets Perplex and Prob if you give him the Sinestro Core ring. Black shirt gives +1 defense to any friendly characters that are adjacent that share a keyword, which if you're on a theme team is everybody. He gets to free heal a figure every single turn. He has support. You know, and then
Got
he gives you theme
TK.
team prop. He has TK and he gives you theme team props back.
And he's got the best power ever. Sidestep. They both do.
Yeah. So they're both highly efficient, 25 points. White shirt pulse waves and doesn't hurt friendlies.
It's ridiculous. For 25 points.
Batshit crazy because your opponent rushes you, they don't kill Porter, and he just goes, pulse wave. I don't care.
And can prob himself while he does it. That's the other thing.
Well, it's great how you could give him a ring, too. Like, you could just give him a ring.
Any ring.
Give him the yellow ring. He perplexes up his own attack to a 12. He, pulse waves the entire team and can prob himself when he gets a crit miss. He just doesn't care.
Yeah, it's a pretty insane duo of what is effectively, we'll call it 60 points because you're going to pay for one ring.
Well, no, the white shirt, Scott Porter is 0 points.
That's what I'm saying. The black shirt needs to pay for the ring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you play them both together with 2 rings, it's 60 points. Still, you're looking at 60 points for 2 perplexes, a prob, pulse wave that doesn't hurt friendlies, +1 to defense, support, free heal 1 every turn. That's 60 points. You pay another 80 points to put you up to 140. Oh God, to play Mephisto in the Masters of Evil. Now you're removing a token from a character and healing an additional click every turn.
Lucas, stop! It hurts.
That's 140. I still have over half the build left, and I get to heal 2 clicks a turn, remove a token without rolling anything.
So we thought the Sackman, the Cloak of Levitation, was the automatic 55 points. I think we found the new automatic 60 points.
I mean, I don't think you have to play them both.
2 rings.
I don't think you have to play them both.
I don't think so either.
But I definitely think the black shirt one's insane. His economy for what he does for what is effectively 25 or 35 points depending on equipment. Like this is what I was talking about earlier. In Modern, you have to look at point economy. How much stuff could my character do for the amount of points I'm spending on him? Black shirt Scott Porter does an insane amount of stuff for 25 points.
They have everything but leadership. Like between the two of them, they cover every single big power that you need and have it sometimes twice between the two of them, save for leadership.
Yeah. But so Lucas, actually, or either one of you. So so I'm getting this correctly. If you pay the points for black shirts Scott Porter to have the ring. Right, you give. Let's say you give him the Sinestro ring. You pay 10 points. You give. Oh no, that wouldn't make sense. But let's say you give him the blue ring, right? And you pay. Give
him the indigo ring because he's got support, so you would get a benefit from the indigo ring.
Yeah. So let's say you give him a ring. You pay 10 points. Can he generate constructs for free because he has the keyword?
If he chooses the keyword,
he would pick the keyword at the beginning of the game, and then he could generate. Miss Marvel can do the same thing. Like from AV60 at the beginning of the game, she gets to pick a keyword, any keyword, and then if she's on a theme team or a keyword that's on her card, she gets to use probability control. If she's on a theme team for a keyword that's not on her card, she can use perplex. But if you just put her on any team and she picks, Sinestro keyword, then she has to pay the 10 points for the ring shill. Okay. But then the nice thing about her is then you could, she make her tiny, move somebody, set her next to them, and then she can spawn a chainsaw, and then they can both attack her and the chainsaw. It just makes for some really, really funny interactions. And Scott Porter's going to be able to do the same thing, just better, realistically.
Yeah. But I mean, ideally, you'd want to play him on a theme team, right? Like
to get the full benefit from him, but you don't have to.
You don't have to.
No.
Okay.
I mean, for 25 points, even if you lose the theme team benefit, he's still gross for what he does.
Yeah.
And you could play him on a celebrity theme team and still pick a Lantern Core keyword.
Yeah.
That's big brain right there.
I mean, we're losing some of the best celebrities after rotation, but
there'll be more.
Time in the Sun. Yep, there will be more. Oh yeah.
There's always more celebrities coming through.
Oh, there's definitely a Disney Plus set number 2 coming at some point or another, and if
the last Disney Plus set,
series remains the same, every
it.
celebrity. Yep, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like it's a whole set of celebrities. Could be a couple of gems in there.
Oh.
All right, so we're coming on our last question for the show. I just wanted to talk to you about this year's Con LEs. I think we have a whole. There was Space Ghost. There was Hawkeye and Hawkeye. There were the Wonder Woman trio. There was There's the
cap on the Pegasus.
The cap on the Pegasus is coming out. What are, I mean, I guess there's two separate questions. What's the best one, and what is your favorite one?
Go ahead, Alex.
I want to say it's Space Ghost, but I think that an argument could definitely be made for Hawkeye and Hawkeye or Captain America just for what they're going to do. Because Captain America is somebody who's going to be able to shut off defense powers, which is something not a lot of people have access to. But Hawkeye and Hawkeye have some really fun stuff under the covers there. If you really look deep, like they've got the ability to make multiple attacks in a turn. Their range is just ridiculous. Like when I first saw him, I thought it was Space Ghost for sure, hands down, because again, for just point economy, he does so much. But I think Hawkeye and Hawkeye is definitely a close second in my book.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I like Space Ghost a lot. Again, I've kind of been touting this the entire time. I look at efficiency and point economy when I look at figures. Space Ghost has a ridiculous amount of it. But we're
at the
also
30-point line specifically.
What's that?
At the 30-point line specifically.
Yeah, you're not going to play him at any other point value. But we were also just talking about how much of a problem Super Senses is. That Pegasus don't really care. He gives more characters the ability to do more things, right? He gives them charge when he uses hypersonic. Always good. More powers is always a good thing. I like the cap a lot. I like the Hawkeye and Hawkeye as well. I think they're very strong. I think they'll be very strong post rotation. Lot fewer big maps. More maps with elevated on them. Their mobility is crazy. Their power selection is really good. Their damage is really excellent. They pair well with Masters of Evil. Very well with Masters of Evil. But I think Cat Pegasus takes the cake for being the best. As far as my favorite goes, I actually like the Wonder Woman's Generations set. I thought it was really cool that they did that. They work well together. They're a fun team to play at 300. They all handle each other really well, and if you can very easily substitute in other characters named Wonder Woman to benefit off, which of course Death Metal's the first one probably hitting that thing, but the Prime is also really good to play with them, a few of them. So yeah, I like the Connellys this year. I thought they did a good job designing them. They didn't do a very good job with distributing them. WizKids could always do a better job at that. I actually, again, had a few conversations with a few people, powers that be, where it's like, you guys are fumbling hard this year, man. Your T-ball is on the your ball is on the tee. Bases are loaded. All the other kids got their fingers up their nose ready to not catch the ball. And instead of hitting the ball off the tee, you take the bat and you throw it at the cage and then go home crying. That's what you've done. That's what you're doing this year, guys. You need to stop. You need to do a better job.
Yeah.
It's
the distribution definitely leaves a lot to be desired.
They ran out of Space Ghost by like Saturday morning or Friday night, Saturday. I mean,
yeah.
What? Like how does that make any sense? How can you take things that you said are going to be available, only limited, I think it was like one per person, and still run out?
Save for the Wonder Womans, you could only get one of each. So it was,
It's like, come on, guys, do better. I know you can do better.
I'm curious, how does the Hawkeye pair well with Masters of Evil?
Because he's higher points.
Take damage.
He can. They take damage when Kate dies, so they can heal. He likes not having double tokens because he can keep attacking 2 times in a turn, and then he's higher points than Inquisitor, so he can mastermind to him. Because you have to remember, Inquisitor gives mastermind to Masters of Evil, but you still have to have the keyword or be higher points. You can't just mastermind to him because he's there. So Hawkeye and Hawkeye being 75 points means they can mastermind to anybody with Masters of Evil without having to worry about it. So
okay.
Yep.
All right. I'm excited for Hawkeye. He's one of my favorite characters, just like superhero characters, Hawkeye. And I really liked, I like Kate Bishop. Also, I like both Hawkeyes. The show was awesome, without spoiling anything. But I really like the show. I mean, it's past the point of spoilers already, but
we're still nice about it.
Yeah, we're still nice about it. I'm not gonna say anything, but all right. Thank you, Lucas and Alex, for coming on the show. I really appreciate you joining me. Alex, congratulations on your US National Championship. And
thank you. Appreciate
you're welcome. And then and so don't forget, everybody at home, You know, make sure you subscribe if you enjoy my content. Hit the like button, comment on this video, and keep following for more HeroClix content. And don't forget, wake up and smell the clicks.